So it is now August of 2025, which means we are now a decent amount of the way through the year when it comes to our theatrical releases of the year. And what I wanted to do in this video is kind of take a little bit of a look back at the year so far. I know I'm doing this video quite a little bit later than what a lot of people were doing them. You normally get these around June, July. I'm doing it in August, but hey ho. I wanted to take a look back at the year so far and discuss what my personal favourite films of the year have been so far, because obviously I've redone the channel a little bit in the past month, and there's some movies that are basically my favourites of the year so far that I haven't discussed on the channel at all, that I kind of just want to put out there, put my thoughts out on there, and let you guys know where I'm sitting at for the year so far. Make sure you guys let me know in the comment section as well, what are your favourite movies of the year so far. I'm going to give you my top 5 of the year so far, so not revealing too much straight away, but just want to give you 5 films that for me personally are the absolute standouts of this year thus far. So I'll kick off the list with my number 5, and that is Marvel Studios' The Thunderbolts. I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I think this is one of the best, I'd maybe even go as far to say that this is the best Marvel MCU film we have had since Avengers Endgame. Like, in the post-Endgame era of Marvel, it's obviously been a bit rocky, it's been a bit up and down, there's been some stuff that people absolutely love, and there's some people who have dropped off the MCU. Like, we all know what's going on with Marvel at this point. Very, very hit and miss. But Thunderbolts is kind of the first film in a long time that I feel like people have really united behind to say, this is a great one. Like, we've had fun event movies like Spider-Man No Way Home, which I really loved. That's like a top tier Marvel movie for me. We also had like Deadpool and Wolverine last year, which obviously a lot of people really enjoyed. But Thunderbolts is the first Marvel movie, I'd say, post-Endgame, where everybody has kind of gotten behind it to say, this is like top tier MCU. Like, this is fantastic stuff. And it truly is. Thunderbolts delivered a great team of characters that are made up of absolute C-D-listers, characters that people do not care about in the grand scheme of things, but made them all so likable, so relatable, and you wanted to root for them and get behind them because they were written so well, and they were performed so well. Like Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, like, she's been great in her couple of MCU appearances so far, but in this film, easily the best we've seen her so far, and this makes her honestly one of the best Marvel characters we have right now. She is just a great inclusion into this universe. David Harbour as her father, the Red Guardian, also a fantastic choice to bring into this team, and he has a great dynamic with Yelena. I also really enjoyed John Walker as well. He was a real standout for me in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so seeing him here in this movie I think was a great choice. And I also have to shout out Lewis Pullman as Bob, who of course is great in this. I loved Lewis Pullman in Top Gun Maverick a few years ago, so seeing him get another big role like this is awesome, and he absolutely delivers. Like, Bob is such a great character. I can't wait to see what they do with him in Avengers Doomsday. He's wonderful, and I think the action was great. It was shot really well. This is the first Marvel movie in a long time that actually felt like a real movie. Like, there was real sets, there was, they were on real locations, and you felt the difference. And this was also such an emotional MCU film as well. Like, as I mentioned before, the relationship between Yelena and Alexei is developed nicely here, and you get some great moments with them. And the central themes of the movie also hit home really hard at the end, and definitely left me with a tear in my eye. And I also think that this was the first MCU film in a while that genuinely got me, like, excited and, like, sort of raring, because, the whole ending of the movie with the new Avengers thing and how that is going to lead into Doomsday, genuinely interesting and exciting. Not a throwaway post-credit scene where it's a vague tease or a promise of something that might come in the future. This is something that they've done. They've gone, right, these are the new Avengers, and Doomsday is coming up, so we're going to have to explain that and all that, and explain all of that. So for me, really exciting. I loved Thunderbolts. I thought it was a great entry into the MCU, one of the best since Endgame, and maybe one of the top tier MCU films, period. And sticking with superheroes, but over to the other side, we have Superman. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Superman because I've got a whole review on the channel of Superman. So if you want to see my full-fledged thoughts on the movie, make sure you go check out my review. I'll link it up on the screen now. It's a fantastic film. I loved it. I think this is exactly what Superman needed. This is exactly what DC needed. It was just a great shot of adrenaline for the franchise that genuinely has gotten me hyped for the future of DC going forward. I'm really looking forward to this new universe now, and I think that Superman, I've been to see it twice now, and both times just filled me with so much joy, so much glee, so much hope, and I think David Corenswet and James Gunn, what they were able to create together as this new version of Superman, is bloody unparalleled. Coming in at third place, we have 28 Years Later. Now, I know this film is a little controversial. Like, there's some people who really, really love it, and there are some people who really hate it, and there's some people who just completely fell off the movie by the end. For me, I thought this was brilliant. I thought this was absolutely mind-bogglingly brilliant. Danny Boyle is an insane man. Like, what he does in some of his films, you just don't find anywhere else. And I think 28 Years Later is such a great, example of that. This movie, which starts off as kind of a basic kind of generic zombie thriller, eventually develops into something much more, and so much more emotional, so much more profound and nuanced. And then by the time you get to the very end of the movie, and if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean, it just goes completely fucking wild. It goes completely off the wall, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I think all throughout the movie, it's got great performances. Jodie Comer is amazing in the film. Ralph Fiennes is a great supporting character here. I can't remember the lad's name who played the little kid in the movie, but he was brilliant as well. Like, given the fact this was his first major acting role, insane. Aaron Taylor Johnson was really great in it as well. I think they all do amazing work. And what Danny Boyle is able to do behind the camera is anything but exceptional. Like, it's truly astonishing. The way that this movie was primarily shot on iPhones, and it gives the film this kind of almost weird, rustic, kind of stuck in time look, despite the fact it still looks very modern, which, works for this franchise, given the fact that the world stopped back in 2002 in this universe. And the way that, the camera turns and moves, it's so dynamic, it's so interesting, it's so fresh. And again, I have to mention the ending of the movie, which again, I won't go into spoilers, but if you know what the ending is, hinting at and what it's leading to in the next movie, it's an insane choice, like a truly insane choice, but one that I absolutely love. It makes sense for this universe, and it's also just ballsy to do that. I can't wait to see where they go with this next film, which is coming out in January of 2026, because this was just an absolute ride of a movie that I loved. And also, this movie made me absolutely bawl. In the sense that there's one scene in the film, which again, if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. I was gone. Completely gone. My runner-up for 2025 so far is Joseph Kosinski's F1. Now, this should really come as no shock to you if you know me at all, or if you've watched my videos for a long time, because you'll know that Joseph Kosinski's last movie, Top Gun Maverick, which I've already mentioned in this video, is not only my favourite movie of the year it came out, but has quickly become one of my favourite movies of all time. I absolutely adore Maverick. I've watched it about 8 or 9 times at this point since it's released. I am obsessed with it. If you look on my Letterboxd, it's in my top 4. I absolutely adore that film. So I was really looking forward to whatever Joseph Kosinski was going to do next. And F1 was a choice that I was excited about, because despite the fact I'm not like an F1 follower, I'm not an F1 fan necessarily, my partner is, and I have watched a few things from F1, and I'm familiar with it just from, her being my partner, but in general, I'm not really an F1 guy. But going into this movie, I was there for Kosinski. I was there to get this cinematic experience. And what he delivered, just chef's kiss. Amazing. One of the best theatrical experiences you can have this year was watching F1 in IMAX. Just a tremendous experience from minute 1 to the end. It's electrifying, it's exciting. These racing scenes are incredibly well shot, incredibly exciting. You feel like you are strapped into that car with Brad Pitt and Dancer Idris. You're right there with them. You feel the intensity, you hear the sound of it all. It is incredibly adrenaline filled. And if you've seen Top Gun Maverick, you'll know what Kosinski is capable of in this regard. What he was able to do with the jets and stuff in that movie, he applies directly to race cars in this film. And while, some people do have complaints with this movie, saying that the story and the characters aren't that deep, and I can't disagree with that, like, it certainly are not. That's not what this movie was going for. And I have to, when I'm reviewing a movie and when I'm judging a movie, I come from it from the perspective of, what was the film trying to do? Like, what was it trying to be? And in my opinion, F1 was just trying to be a very technically well-made movie that was entertaining as fuck. And that's exactly what F1 was. It was entertaining all the way through. Despite the fact that this is also a 2 hour and 20 minute movie, It's phenomenal completely. Brad Pitt also I have to give a shout out to, because Brad Pitt is one of those actors who obviously back in the day, in the sort of, the 90s, the early 2000s, Brad Pitt was the guy. He was an absolute unequivocal movie star. And he went away for a while. We didn't really see him, and he kind of lost that kind of movie star edge to him. But in the past few years, he's really started to bring that back with movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Ad Astra, and F1. I would kind of put in that trifecta. Like, when you see Brad Pitt in this movie, he just screams movie star. Like, absolutely demands your attention on screen. Damson Idris is also a really great foil to him in the movie. He's obviously not been in too much, but this is a great role for him to really shine, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot more work off of this movie. And the other big star I really have to shout out in this film is Hans Zimmer. If you know me, you know I love my Hans. Absolutely adore him. This is one of my favourite scores from him in a while. I was just blown away by it. Absolutely amazing stuff. It's quite a different score for Hans. Like he goes quite techno with it. He goes quite electric with it. But that was very fresh and exciting. It almost felt like a Reznor and Ross score a little bit. But with Hans's, big cinematic flair to it. So much so that there's a scene towards the end of the film where the music is just flaring and swelling, and I just started crying just because of how good the score was. It just affected me that much. Just a truly exciting film, one I absolutely loved, and it's made me want to get into F1 as the sport, because the movie was just so exciting, got me so into the kind of environment and the world of it. I want more. But my number one film of the year so far, and this really shouldn't come as a shock because this isn't exactly an original pick, but my number one is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. I feel like I'm not going to have much to say on Sinners, because what more can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? But what I will go as far as to say is that I don't like to chuck this word around, but this movie is a masterpiece. Or it's as close to a masterpiece as a film can be. It's just perfect. Like, this is a perfect example of what a movie should be, and in my opinion, I don't think anything for the rest of this year, from what I can see, is going to even come close to topping this. It's just a master of the craft movie. Like, absolutely phenomenal all the way through. Ryan Coogler is one of those directors who has never made a bad movie. Like, I think he's just one of those who's gotten better and better in his career. And Sinners kind of feels like his magnum opus at this point. Like, just an absolute odyssey of a movie that was a transcendent experience in the cinema. Michael B. Jordan playing twins in the movie, what a phenomenal job he does. Like, you can truly tell he plays these two characters completely differently. And even if you didn't know, because they are like, the two twins are color-coded slightly, like one primarily wears red, one primarily wears blue, but even if they didn't have that, you would be able to tell which one was which from the performance alone, and that's so admirable. The story of this is something that is exciting, but still relevant to today, and, I kind of wish the trailers didn't show as much as they did, because obviously the movie is a vampire film as well, and if they hadn't sort of spoiled that in the movie, that would have been an insane twist. But even with, most of us going in knowing that, what they do with the vampire lore in the film, I thought was great. It was really fun. Jack O'Connell is fantastic in this, playing yet another villain. Obviously he had this, and then he also had 28 years later. He certainly has a much bigger role here in Sinners, and he's fantastic in the film. Absolutely matches up to everybody else. The whole cast, is great. Really delivers this world and these characters in an authentic way, and the music is absolutely insane in this film. Both the score from Ludwig Göransson, which is incredibly real to the time. It's exciting, it feels fresh, it feels different, which is something that Ludwig kind of specializes at this point. Like, he's really good at doing these incredibly exciting new scores that give us these new kind of sounds that we've not heard before. So not only have you got that, but you've also got all of the original music in the film, including, like I Lied to You, which is just insane in the movie, and you've also got the Rocky Road to Dublin, which is like the Irish dance song. It's euphoric. It's absolutely euphoric. I think that Sinners is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of film. And I know that I was saying in my live stream the other day that I don't like this kind of hyperbolic talk that has kind of come into the movie space in the past few years, where something is either the best thing ever or it's the worst thing ever. There are some times when those kind of words and those kind of sentences are applicable to a certain movie. And in my opinion, Sinners is that movie. This is not only the best movie of the year, this is the best movie since, like, COVID, this is the best movie of the decade. Genuinely, that argument can be had. I think Sinners, it's a transformative film that completely reignited my passion and my love for movies in a way that no other film has in a while. Like, the top three of this list, 28 Years, F1, and Sinners, all reminded me why I love movies so much. And I just have to thank Ryan Coogler for that. So, thank you, Ryan, for delivering this. But there you have it, guys. There's my top 5 movies of 2025 so far. As I said, make sure to let me know your thoughts and your own lists in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what movies you guys have been loving so far this year. And without further ado, let's end this movie and this video off with a goodbye. Thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more uploads, or you don't miss when I go live every Sunday at 9 PM. And I hope to see you guys again next time.